today I want to do something a little different. We focus a lot of time on the president and what he does, and it's a lot. Remember back when the 100-day mark happened, and I was talking about how there's a lot that happens that we forget or that just doesn't get the attention. And today it started me thinking about this and was talking with the team. And there's this huge contrast that exists that no one else that I've seen at least has done anything on. If you go back, think about this for 1 second. Think about in the Biden administration, who was in his cabinet. Now, I think if you're a close watcher, you maybe say like Pete Buttigieg, Pothole Pete, because he used every opportunity to go out there and pretend like he was actually working, and he didn't. But he definitely got a lot of media attention because he was a darling. And he did a lot of stunts, like taking that bicycle and dropping it off a block before the transportation department and making it look like he rides a bike to work.
And when they took over, Buttigieg, who has no clue, he drives to work on his bicycle with his, in all fairness, with his husband on the back, which is a nice, loving relationship. But he didn't have a clue. This guy didn't have a clue. And he's actually a contender for president. Between him and Crockett, you can have that party.
So he did a lot of good PR stunts. He didn't actually do a lot. But I think he was emblematic of the whole cabinet. I mean, who was his labor secretary? Who was the energy secretary? People just didn't know. And now you contrast that with the Trump administration. Think about it. Almost everybody's a household name. It's such a different. And then also, not just the people, but the priorities. Every one of these things, it was all about pronouns and DEI and wokeness and inclusion. Not about what they're doing to make my life better, your life better, our lives better. That's what they're supposed to be doing. It's a government. They're supposed to be serving the people. And their priorities, I think, were completely backwards. These guys have it right. And I think it's worth walking through all that for a second. And so today, I'm going to do a deep dive that, again, no one else is going to show you. You're not going to see what we're about to do anywhere else. So do me a favor, when you're watching this or you're done with it, take the link and share it with 5 friends, because that's huge. All right, let's get into this. I'm going to do this alphabetical. So we got a bunch of cabinet and officials and departments to get through, but we start alphabetically with the Department of Agriculture. Now, here's the cool thing. I actually love the contrast here. This is a great place to start. So it's not just great because it's the first in the alphabet, but what Brooke Rollins is doing is the epitome of the difference. You guys recall that during the transition, we're dealing with all of these issues with food safety and whatever. And if you go to the Department of Agriculture's website at the time, they literally listed their top priority as DEI. I mean, think about how nuts that is. The Department of Agriculture, so that are responsible for food stamps, school lunches, our food safety, our food supply. And their number one issue is DEI. I'm like, okay, maybe number 10 if you're a liberal, but like the idea that you're putting that in front of everyone, and no one had a problem with that, did they? There was literally a quote that I thought was so perfect about what was happening during the Biden administration within the Department of Agriculture. There's this guy, his name's Chris Peterson. He's an independent Iowa hog farmer and former president of the Iowa Farmers Union. He said, Rome's burning, guys. We're disappearing. Approximately 92% of independent pig farmers are gone. And the infrastructure for that type of agriculture is going, and a lot is gone already. Small farmers say the moment offers an opportunity for the USDA. Secretary Vilsack and Biden approve whose side they're on. And they were on the side of DEI. That's what they were. Contrast that with Brooke Rollins, who comes in and it's like puts farmers, ranchers at the forefront. Market access, getting these guys into markets that they'd never been in before. That's what they want. I told you guys this. I mean, speaking of pig farmers, I went and spoke to the pork producers earlier this year, and they were like, basically, if you look at the actual pig, we in the U.S. can only consume about half of it. So many parts of that pig need to get sold abroad, like the snout and the feet, whatever. Because I don't eat them. You probably don't, but a lot of people in a lot of other areas of the world do. They need to be able to export those pieces of the pig. But it's not just that. It's our meat, it's our produce, it's our farm fresh goods. And so Brooke Rollins put that back at the forefront. And I think it's important to understand, I want to show you a clip of her talking about the kind of stuff that they found, like even in the promo, the seeds, the swag at USDA. Take a look.
I call it woke seeds.
Should I do a quick video?
Hi everyone, it's Brooke Rollins here at USDA. We started really early this morning, as we always do, as we're here fighting for farmers and ranchers and putting Americans first. But you're not going to believe what we just found. Behind a door at USDA, we found a whole box of these seeds. And listen, we love seeds here at USDA, but check these out. These are specific tomato seeds that are for growing diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility at USDA. I mean, look at these. If you can be anything, be inclusive at USDA.
So we're done with that. And we're focused on this. And the transition between this, what she's doing at USDA, and the next is critical because it actually segues nicely. It just happens to be in the alphabet, works that way. But the next thing I want to talk about is commerce and U.S. trade rep. But you think about what Brooke's doing, market access, and you think about when the president a couple weeks ago talked about this UK deal. The National Cattlemen Beef Association put out a statement praising the deal that President Trump struck with the UK. Thank you, Mr. President, for fighting for America's cattle and producers. And that segues nice into what is going on at the Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Rep's office. I'm combining them here, but they work hand in hand. Think about the deals the U.S. has gotten and what the president's doing on tariffs. Big, bold initiatives. I've said this before. For decades, we've known how unfairly we were being treated. Tariffs in all these other countries that prohibit or make it harder for our stuff to get into their countries. Our service providers, our manufacturers, our ranchers and farmers. And yet we almost have complete and unfettered access to our market. That's just not fair. So when people say free trade or fair trade, that's fine, but that's not free or fair. We all know that. And President Trump's been willing to fight for it and get results. And everyone's whining, oh, I'm going to pay more for 5 minutes. I get it. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want anyone to be adversely affected economically and not be able to pay for the stuff. But the bottom line is, if this was easy, somebody else would have done it. And he's fighting for this. And you think about what he's doing with Canada, with Mexico, getting better deals for the U.S., right? And you think about the UK deal and all of these other things that are falling into place, reducing tariffs, getting us better access. And I think there's more to come, but he continues to fight for us. But and Jamieson Greer explained it really well. He is the U.S. trade rep. Now, technically, it's separate, commerce, U.S. trade rep, but I think they work so hand in hand. I want to play you a clip of Jamieson Greer talking about this, what they're trying to do in this administration.
The president has been clear throughout the campaign and now during the administration that he thinks it's important to have a global tariff. Because remember, we're responding to what is an emergency. We have a $1.2 trillion trade deficit. It increased by 40% over the Biden administration. There's never been a deficit this high in human history for any country. And so we probably will always want to have some level of higher tariff until that's resolved.
Again, fighting for us. I don't even know who the U.S. trade rep was. Oh, Catherine Tai, is that it? Yeah, under Biden. I don't know. I mean, in fact, every story that you saw was her fighting with someone in the Biden administration, not actually doing anything. What a huge sea change. But it goes well beyond this because Howard Lutnick's the Commerce Secretary, and they have this website over there at the White House, the Trump Effect. I've told you this before. Deal after deal, investment in America. Apple, $500 billion. NVIDIA, $500 billion. SoftBank, OpenAI, Oracle, $500 billion. IBM, $150 billion. Johnson & Johnson, $55 billion. Gentech, $55 billion. Novartis, $23 billion. Hyundai, $21 billion. Over and over. And it's like trillions of dollars of direct investment in the U.S. And you can't just, you can't just be like, oh, how did that just happen? It didn't just like come out of nowhere. Fall from the sky. These companies invested in the U.S., and these aren't small amounts. I mean, no one just says, hey, let's just, appease President Trump by investing $500 billion. They did it because the policies that he's putting forward make it attractive to do business in the United States. All of this happened in like 100 and something days. So this is a huge and massive sea change. And I don't think to some degree we always see this in its totality. But think about this. When you talk about investing trillions of dollars in the United States. You're talking about massive amounts of jobs that get created. Manufacturing jobs. You're bringing back the base. This is so great. And I do think it's such a massive sea change. What were the announcements? You know what the announcements were, by the way, from the Commerce Department during the Biden administration? How much money the government would spend. The government. Here's how much we're passing of your money to invest in us. Not private sector money. It's a totally, totally different mentality. And the results speak for themselves. Trillions of dollars. When someone says, what's President Trump doing? Just go to that website, whitehouse.gov/investments, the Trump effect. You cannot deny that his policies are having a consequential effect on our economy. All right, let me go down the alphabet. Big shift here from commerce and trade to defense. A massive, massive sea change here as well. Focusing on the threats that we face, the challenges that we have, deterring China in particular, in the Indo-Pacific region, and thinking about what we need to do to be stronger and better and more of a deterrent, right? Shipbuilding, getting back the focus on munitions. Do you realize that during Biden, when we're shipping stuff off to Ukraine, the dirty little secret, no one wanted to tell you this, is that we didn't have enough munitions to resupply ourselves. We kept telling you guys from Washington that we're just sending off stuff that we had in our stockpile. But the dirty secret was that there was nothing to replace it, putting us at risk. And it's not just that, which I think is a massive in itself, but it's also morale, getting people to want to be part of the all-volunteer force. Recruiting and morale was not doing well. What a flip that we've seen. The U.S. is now filling the ranks among all the services at record highs. The Army is up 23,586. That's 115% of its goal. The Navy up 16,201, 105% of its goal. The Air Force up 5,847. That's 106% of its goal. The Marines, who never have a problem, by the way, 13,329, 100% up. And by the way, the Marines never suffer, because if you want to be a Marine, well, you know you want to be a Marine. That's just a mentality there. But even Space Force is up 299%, 101% increase. I mean, I know the media loves to focus on Pete Hegseth and what platform he was sending a message on. But his focus is where it's supposed to be. And the results speak for it. Getting people ready to go. Understanding the threats that we face and why you're part of the military matters. This is Pete Hegseth addressing that.
We are leaving wokeness and weakness behind. No more pronouns, no more climate change obsession, no more emergency vaccine mandates, no more dudes in dresses. We're done with that shit.
Yeah, we're done. We're focused. I don't mean to sound like an alarmist. If you watch the show for a while, you know that I have been talking about the threat that I think we face from China. I hope I'm wrong, by the way. I hope I'm horribly wrong. But I'd rather be prepared and wrong than sit around in 5 years and say, see, I told you so. Because the consequences of being right are not good. And so to see a Secretary of Defense that's focused on the threats that we face and the mentality and the morale that we need to deter those threats is critical. And I think that's what I love about this. All right. From the D's to the E's, we go to the Department of Education. And what I love about the job that Linda McMahon is doing at the Department of Education is she said this in one cabinet meeting, you know, Mr. President, I literally was hired to fire myself. We've talked about the Department of Education and eliminating since Reagan, okay? Since Reagan. And here is Linda McMahon talking about this. Take a look.
Now, let me just point out to you that the Department of Education was set up in 1980. We have now spent as a country over $3 trillion to watch the performance of our students continue to decline. And as I said in my confirmation hearing, we're just simply not doing something right. I don't think that education that is handled from a bureaucratic position in Washington, D.C. is best for the states. We'll continue with the funding. The Title I funding, that's one of the things that's questioned, and people are afraid they won't get Title I funding, or our IDEA funding for our disabled and special needs students. That will all continue to go to the states. It might go through a different agency, or it may go directly to the states. But education, I think, is going to have more funding going directly to the students, which is where it should be.
All right, that's Linda McMahon, right? You hear her saying this. It was set up in 1980, and we've spent $3 trillion and no results. Now, where else in the world would you accept that but Washington? We throw a ton of money and the results don't improve. I just don't understand why there's not enough more outrage. It's unbelievable. You spend that much money and you see no result. We should have the best education in the world. And so anytime somebody says, oh, they're dismantling this, they better be, because this is our future. And right now we're telling people, send money to to Washington, and expect nothing in return. Maybe they're the ones who need an education after all. But beyond that, she's also doing a couple other things in this realm that I think are important. She's taking on higher education, revoking all this money from Harvard. And we're talking billions and billions of dollars. I mean, Harvard's got this massive $50+ billion endowment, and yet we continue to give them billions in federal money. They support anti-Semitism, a woke culture. I just don't understand why we think that this is a good idea. Again, maybe we need to educate ourselves more. But Linda McMahon is standing up and taking on Harvard and higher education, and I think that's great. She's also fighting in schools to make sure that we protect women, making sure that we protect women and girls in schools and don't allow some of this transgender stuff put them at risk. Because remember, all the left will tell you is like, oh, what about their rights and their feelings? What about the rights of these other women and girls that are being hurt or taken advantage of or whatever? I'm just saying, like, they always play to the lowest common denominator, but Linda McMahon's crushing it. All right, we stay in the E's. We move over to energy. Secretary Chris Wright, he delivered a 100-day recap on how President Trump was doing, and I want to show you that. Take a look.
Mr. President, you ran on unleashing American energy, and 100 days have shown the tremendous impacts that can arise from the unleashing you have enabled. I'll hit a few highlights. Number one, oil, gasoline, and diesel prices are the lowest they've been in years. How does that happen in 100 days? That's a messaging. Your message that we're pro-energy. We're not against energy, we're for it. That sends a message to the marketplace that supply is easier to grow now and supply will be coming. And that's already led to tremendous savings for American consumers across the country. And we need not only more affordable energy, but we need a lot more energy. One highlight I think a couple of us have touched on is AI. This is a new, emerging, critical industry that's very energy intensive. It is not acceptable for the United States to not be the leader in AI. We must win the AI race and lead in that, and that's going to take a lot more energy. If you had not won election, we would not have won the AI race. Full stop. Energy would not have been there to enable us to win. Reshoring of manufacturing. These trillions of dollars you led off with, it's going to come back to our country to make chips, to make steel, to make automobiles, to make artificial intelligence, to make all of these industries we've outsourced. That's only going to be possible with way more American energy. But we have that energy. We have those resources. We have those businesses. We have those capitalists. We just need to stop standing in the way of them and follow the lead you've set, which is to enable them, not to subsidize them, not to help them, to enable them to invest American money and create American jobs here. Regarding our balance of trade, the second largest export of the United States is liquefied natural gas. Second fastest. In the next few years, it'll be our largest export in our country.
So again, what's the focus? It's getting rid of the green energy and putting stuff for the focus of where it should be. Making sure that we're focused on actually real stuff that's going to, get us back to energy independence. No more big windmills. that are bad for the environment. I mean, they've got the focus, and that's where it should be, and that's important. All right, we move now into the H's, over to the Department of Health and Human Services. Again, Bobby Kennedy, you would have told me this a year and a half ago, a year ago, I think I would have said you were crazy. But think about not just Bobby Kennedy leading this effort and the MAHA movement, but all the people. Dr. Oz at the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. You got now Casey Means nominated to be the Surgeon General. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. Callie Means is an advisor over there. Marty McCary, the doctor that's heading the FDA. These guys are all rowing in the same direction, getting us healthy. How crazy is that? And again, I told you at the outset I wanted to show you the contrast. Javier Becerra was the Secretary of Health and Human Services leader under Biden. Do you know what his background is? He's a lawyer. So that's right. He chose a lawyer to lead us through a health pandemic. No wonder we didn't see much progress in our wellness. But here we are with these people that are leading the MAHA movement, that have medical backgrounds. Dr. Oz, Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. McCary. Focus. Dr. Means. And they're not, like, the problem is, and Casey Means talks about this all the time. We have a system that's set up to deal with us once we get sick, not to prevent us from getting sick. Because guess what? That doesn't make money for big pharma and big food. That doesn't make us money. And so you've got RFK out there getting rid of red dye number 3, talking about things that lead to potential cancer and stopping them. Oh boy, isn't that crazy? We've got these petroleum dyes and all these other things, gain of function research getting killed. But you have an unmistakable change in the priorities of this administration when it comes to our health, our wellness, and our future than the last administration. Each one of these, as I go through them and I talk about them, I keep thinking, wow, it's not even close, is it? And when someone talks about what the president has accomplished or what he's done in 100, 150, 200 days, it's amazing to me that you can go through each of these departments as we are and go, oh yeah, that, and then that, and then that, and then this department and that department. There isn't a single one, as you guys are seeing, that we aren't actually showing real progress for. Well, if you enjoyed this content, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notification bell to get more.